Hi everyone, this is Jackie from Baubles, also known as Titi Gordy. I got that nickname from my good friend Sonia. She gave me that name. I'm her surrogate Titi, and she knows I like a lot of jewelry, so she started calling me Titi Gordy. Today I'm going to be talking about gentleman jewelry. Not just any ordinary jewelry for men. Not the hip hop kind, not the punk rocker kind of jewelry. This is jewelry more specifically for dandies and men who love fashion, high fashion. And so these are for the old-hearted men that like jewelry that has a little more pizzazz and a little bit more flash. So it's dandy jewelry, and got inspired two ways. I got inspired because I was talking to my good friend Michael and Roman, and we were sitting outside practicing social distancing, and we talked about men jewelry, and I saw how passionate they were about jewelry for men, that I started to think about my own collection and how I don't really have a lot of jewelry for men. I don't shop necessarily with men in mind. So it took me a long while to go through my collection to pull out pieces that were suitable for men. And that is to say, there might be a little bit more on the effeminate side, but since I got inspired, I think while I'm out there looking for my treasures, I'm going to start looking for jewelry that is complementary to men too. So that is my goal. So that was my first inspiration. And my second is this book. And this book is called Jewelry for Gentlemen by James Sherwood. It's a great book. And as I said, this collection is not necessarily for the hip hop kind. It's not for the punk rocker or the grungy rocker. This is for dandies. So I hope you enjoy. Let me give you a quick preview of some of the jewels that I'm going to be showing. And I just wanted to say what I'm wearing. This is a vintage Joan Rivers. These are a recent acquisition. They don't really match with this, and I normally wouldn't pair them, but because they're a recent acquisition, I paid $2.50 for this one, and I got that a few days ago. This is it actually says Joan on this watch. I mean, it's not watch, it's a pseudo locket, and I think it's from the Victorian era. And my aquamarine ring that has like a brutalist feel to it. And this I got at Etsy a couple of years ago. So without further ado, let's get to the jewelry. Okay, I have to put my glasses on because I can't see from far. So let's see. So here is jewelry for men. And one of the first things we're going to be talking about is that men have been wearing jewelry since the dawn of time. They had, saber-toothed tigers wrapped around their necks. Even in the medieval period, the men would wear an amazing amount of jewelry. And also, the men in all different eras wear jewelry. In the past, they wore a lot more elaborate jewelry, and now some men do wear elaborate jewelry. Some hip-hop guys with the big chains, and I have an example of that here. So this would be a chain that somebody who's involved. This is a choker. This is a really nice one too. It's got a nice beautiful clasp. I don't know who made it, but that's a cool piece. And here's another example of that. So you have this chain here with the ID bracelets, and this is a vintage express. They don't make stuff like this anymore. Look at that catch. You can almost wear this as a belt, I would think, if you're skinny enough. I certainly am not. But let's get started here with this book. So you can see this picture here. It's cufflinks, and men have been wearing cufflinks, and they became really popular back in the 30s. And here's a beautiful example of cufflinks. I mean, this could be a woman could wear it, and I bought this for me. But I think they're still cool and nice enough for men to wear. And men do not wear cufflinks as they did in the past. I think they kind of fell out of favor in the 70s. It was the last time that they became really, really popular. But I'm sure that nowadays men are going to start wearing these again. I just feel it, and I hope so, because they look amazing on. Here's another example. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous pair of cufflinks. These are vintage, and these cufflinks are made with carnelian, simply made in the back. Huge. I mean, I would even wear this as a ring or a pair of earrings. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And this is another cufflink that I bought. These are enamel cufflinks, and they have like a stamp and a lotus flower motif. Really, really pretty. I can see a man wearing that for sure. So here's another gorgeous man, and I saw a movie with him recently. I don't know what his name is. Alexander, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. He is incredibly sexy. This is a picture of the Maharaji, and the beautiful thing about this Maharaji is look at his jewels. I mean, back in the days, men would wear jewelry just like this, and they were considered, you know, the wealthiest of the wealthiest, and they were showing their wealth with their jewels. If a man wore something like that today, it might be considered a little ostentatious, maybe a little over the top, maybe a lot over the top, but I think he looks amazing. And I put a marker on this because the quintessential dandy is Fred Astaire. When I think of a dandy, his name comes to mind. And he wore his jewels as well. Cufflinks, pinky ring, tie pins. So as I was going through this book and trying to go through my collection to see what I can show you, this is the Duke of Windsor. And you can see down here he wore an interlocking ring. And I pulled out my mother's wedding band that I'm sure any man could wear. When my father passed away, my mother gave me her wedding bag, and I told her why. She says, well, you know, I don't need it anymore. And kind of broke my heart a little bit, but I'm glad to have it. This is the wedding band my father bought for my mother. Here is some rings from their collection, and I pulled out a couple of rings that I thought maybe a man would want to wear. So you have this ring here, and in fact, this was a man's ring. It's a white gold with a red stone. That's not ruby. When I got this ring, I had it sized to fit my finger. But this was really a man's ring. It was a much, much bigger, size 9 or 10 or something like that. But I would think that a man could wear it as part of his pinky. I think that's still cool. Then I pulled out this ring. And this could be more of a rocker ring. It's really, really heavy. I believe that's either bone or ivory. I still haven't figured out what it is. Someone told me this was a Navajo, Native American ring. And I bought this maybe a year ago with another Native American piece. And I thought this would be, I mean, it's substantial. So a man can wear that as a pinky ring. And then I pulled this one out. And this is a man drumming. And it reminded me of bomba y plena, which is the traditional Afro Latino dancing that they do in Puerto Rico, where my family's from. And so I had to get this. I got this maybe 3 years ago, and it was quite expensive. But when you get a unique piece like this that you can't find anywhere, that evokes traditional family memories, you just sometimes you just gotta splurge a little bit. But I can see a man wearing that in his pinky. Here's a ring worn by Henry VIII, I believe. And that ring sort of kind of reminded me of this ring right here. This is a Scandinavian ring from Annie From. And look at that stone, it's huge. But imagine if a man wore that ring on his pinky. That would be kind of impressive, I would say. So here's another dandy type of guy from Art Deco. You can see the angular lines on his face. And then this ring here sort of reminds me of this ring right here. So you can see the panther ring, and I think this could be a Bulgari. And my sterling silver, wannabe Bulgari, but not quite. And I guess a man could really wear that as a pinky ring. This is a necklace that this guy's pretty understated toned necklace, and I found something similar that I think a guy can use, similar to what this one is right here. Put that flask there. And this I got from the wine company that I worked at on Long Island. And this came as part of one of the promotions, and I was given this by one of the brand managers. This is kind of a scraggly tooth ring, snarly tooth ring. Here's another like snarly tooth ring. And that one there. And I thought maybe perhaps a ring like this. This is like a shark motif. And so that's what that looks like. Over here is a skull ring. And I don't really have a skull ring, but I do have this skull pendant. So you can imagine how it would look like if it's a ring. And this is actually a gift that I'm giving to Michael, who I'm dedicating this video to. He likes skull motifs, and I'm going to give him this one. This is a really nice brooch. Kind of reminds me of this one that I had. And I've had this for 20 something years. It's sterling silver and rhinestones all throughout the heart, and the arrow piercing it. It's a really nice Valentine's Day piece, but I think it's kind of reminiscent of that brooch right there. This is a beautiful cufflinks in this ring here of these what do you call those, frogs. And I have some frogs here as part of my collection. Here they are, and I can see these frogs on the lapel. Look how tiny he is. And then this frog here with the carnelian stone. That's something that a guy could wear on his little lapel. This frog here I bought because it reminded me of the coquis in Puerto Rico. The coquis are small little frogs that are indigenous to Puerto Rico. And so when I saw this, and they're actually about this size, and if you touch them, they say they'll die. So that's the coquis. And I can see somebody wearing that on their lapel. This is a bee. And I thought that perhaps, where's my bee pin? Here we go. This is a pin that a guy could wear on his little boutonniere. Totally can wear that. When I saw this cufflinks here, it kind of reminded me of this set that I had here. And this is a fountain pen cufflinks. So this is what this one looks like. One goes this way, one goes that way. And I think that's really cool that a guy could wear something like this, even female. So these are like unisex type of jewelry that men could wear. But I really like that a lot. Anything that's kind of has a little bit of whimsy is really cool by me. So here is a beetle brooch, and I'm not sure why I pulled this one. Oh, this one sort of reminded me of the crest for the Russian Tsar. And these are stick pins. And so I have a collection of stick pins that I think a man can wear. And here they are. So let me pull them up one at a time. This one's perhaps on the bigger side. And it's like a caged Victorian. They used to wear these on the hats and stuff. Here is a sterling silver turtle. And turtles, you know, any kind of like whimsical animal a man could wear, and it's a lot of fun. This is actually from Avon, and it's a key, and a man can totally wear that and pull that off. This could be also something that he can wear on his tie. So picture a tie going this way and this going right through the tie. You know, you have the key to my heart. And this is a classic Art Deco, maybe early before that even, stick pin that a man could wear. He can even have a boutonniere and stick this through it and add a little touch. Really pretty. And here are, this guy's wearing a sword across his tie. Handsome guy. And so I thought maybe a little too big, but this is a sword and it's vintage lucite. And I can imagine somebody wearing that. Certainly a man can wear this across his tie or even through his lapel or his boutonniere. You can actually have a spray of like Stephanopoulos flowers coming out of it. And can't go wrong with this simple brooch that can be worn through the tie like that. And so look at this through the tie. I'm gonna pass that one because I never ended up getting. This is a beautiful brooch, and I thought maybe perhaps a brooch like that the guy can pull off. That's what that looks like. Here's some more insects and pins and things like that. And I thought maybe, I wonder, might be a little too big. This one might be the appropriate size that you could wear as part of men's jewelry. I think this size, or if it was even smaller, would probably be a better thing to wear. But I think that's awesome. If a guy wears that, you're going to look at him and be like, wow, that's interesting. It's going to make you look. Here is a business card, but I kind of brought this out instead. This is a flask that's thin enough to fit inside a man's inside pocket, and you can get it inscribed. And it does have drink in it. So on a cold, wintry day, you're walking down the street with your lady, and you pull out this little flask, take a little swig, warm yourself up a little bit. So I thought that even though this is not jewelry per se, it has the effect of jewels, because look how beautiful that gold is. It's so nice. And we have quintessential Marlon Brando. Less dandy, more macho. And he was wearing a chain bracelet. This is more feminine because of the locket, but I can still see a guy wear that. And if you want something a little bit more masculine, you got this bracelet, and this one is woven sterling silver. Here's another bee, kind of like this bee right here. So any insect related jewelry is always good to wear. I got a lot of insects and critters, like I call them. This one is awesome. This is a spider, arachna, and this is my version of that spider. So, you know, when I first looked at this, I never thought it could be worn as a man wearing it. But after looking at that book, I realized this is something a man could pull off. Very cool. this is a pocket chain. And where's my pocket chain? I have one here. Oh, here we go. This one here. And this one here. Let's see this one first. So this can be dangling from a pocket chain like that. And it's traditional. And I do have the chains, but I couldn't find it in time for this video. So at some other point, I'll probably show it to you. And this one, which is a very, very special pocket watch for me. And I wear this as a necklace. And it's very special to me because that's a picture of my dad, sergeant in the Army. He's passed. And I wear this when I kind of need him close to my heart. And he gave me this pocket chain when he was alive, maybe 30 years ago. It's one of the only things he really owned of some sort of value. My father was a very simple man. He was called a jibaro, which is considered like country folk up in the mountains. And so for him to have something elaborate as this, and he's the man that got me started collecting jewelry, and that's a story for another day. But he did give me this because he knew out of all his daughters that I'm probably the one that would have cherished it more than anybody because my love of jewelry. So that was a very special piece to pull out. This here is a fist. See that? And so I pulled out this piece. And this is called a figa. A mano in fica, I believe it's called. And this was an Italian amulet sort of thing. And I could see maybe a man, maybe this is a little bit too feminine, but I still can think a guy can pull this off. But the interesting thing about the figa, the fist, is that it really is, back in the days, if you wanted to say F you, we now put up the middle finger. Back in the days, they used to do this, where they put their thing, and that meant F you. And then it turned into a fertility symbol, where this represents the female vagina with the clitoris. And now it kind of represents the stealing of the nose. So the old people will go up to a little kid and say, "Oh, stole your nose. You know, there's your nose." So that's what this figa could represent. I even have earrings, and I believe, was it Versace who came out with a whole jewelry line containing these figas? So maybe a guy could wear one of these on one of his ears. This is a flower pin, and I thought instead of a lapel flower roses, perhaps a guy could wear this instead of a real flower. So this is my rose, enamel rose and sterling silver rose that could be worn. And then I saw this sprig of flowers here, and I thought, well, this sort of could be representative of that. 3 little flowers that a guy can wear on his lapel. As I said, these are more dandy than they are rocker. But this is a museum piece, MMA, and has the crucifix with the flowers and the tendrils of the leaves. And I think this is cool. And then the last but not least, again, is the ring. But I have a couple of other pieces here that I think would work well too. Take a look at this piece right here. This is a Victorian garnet brooch. Tiny, small, and it's a little beautiful jewel. And I got this recently, maybe 3 months ago. And I added that to my collection. And then, what about these chains with skulls on it? I could see a guy totally wearing this, you know, with his bare chest. Ooh. And then, why not wear little hearts? And here's Carousel Bunny. I can see a guy wear that. Here's maracas. So if you're a Latin man and you're going to a night of dancing in a Latin club, maybe you can pull off, without this purple flowers ribbon, you can pull this off. And here's an abstract swirly swirl. And last but not least, this blue heart. There's actually one other collection that I wanted to show you. These belong to my ex-husband. He was in the New York Police Department. He's retired, and we're sort of friendly. So he collected these tie pins from the police department, and when he was also a detective. So this is from the Hispanic Society. This is a Puerto Rican flag with his detective shield on there. And here's another tie pin with the detective shield on there. So I guess men today still wear these sort of things in certain fraternity type situations. Perhaps if he's a fireman or one of the locals. And with the voting, perhaps they can get away with wearing something like this. So I hope you enjoyed that gentleman jewelry video. It was a little challenging because, like I said, I don't shop for men's jewelry. I shop for women. So even though maybe some of these are not dead on, maybe a little too effeminate, maybe not effeminate, it's you can work it, and you're very comfortable in your way of being, and you can pull off some of these jewelry. But it was a whole lot of fun doing this. This one's for Michael and Roman. And with that, adios. Jackie from Bronx Baubles, aka Titi Gori. And if you like, please hit the subscribe button. It'll help me a great deal of presenting, different content. And I'm really trying to get unique about my jewelry collection, as well as give me any comments, things that you like, things that you didn't like, things that you want to see, etc., etc. But with that, adios.